Have you ever noticed that no matter how hard you work, your money doesn't seem to grow with you? It's almost like you have more a month at the end of your money all the time. Well, we're going to talk about that today, along with 4 keys to helping you unlock your wealth. Let's go. Welcome to the Total Release Podcast, where we help people master the art of letting things go. So inevitably, so they can grow. Today we're going to talk about how you get stuck when it comes down to money. I don't know about you, but I've had my experiences with money over the years, and the more I grow, the more I'm starting to understand that the relationship with money has a lot to do with me, not so much the money. Like, what is he talking about? Well, maybe it's not your money that's stuck. Maybe it's the seed you keep planting. What does that mean? See, most of us were taught to hold on to money, right? You know, we heard it all the time. Money don't grow on trees, right? You think I just got money laying around for you to come and just get it whenever you want to? You know, they say money is the root of all evil, and we all know that it's the love of money that's the root of all evil, right? They say you got to save every single dollar, right? You know, prevent yourself from getting into situations where risk is going to take you out of the game, right? You know, the fear of losing what you have to gain is what most people struggle with. They fear losing what little they already have. I don't know about you. I felt that way. You know, growing up in a middle class, somewhat home where you work for every single dollar and you work hard for every single dollar. And that usually ties into when you spend every dollar, you feel the pain of the work that you had to work to get that dollar. And I realized that it's the relationship with money, it's those emotions that we have with money that cause us to make decisions around how much we have and how much we are going to lose, as opposed to investing in the vision that we see and the opportunity to gain. See, but when you hold too tightly, right? But what you hold too tightly, it can't wait. You know, it can't breathe. It can't see because you're holding on to it too tight. It's like, I'm going to wait. But the longer you wait, the more you choke yourself and self-sabotage yourself into believing that you did the right thing, when opportunities usually pass by all the time. They're right there in front of us, but we can't see it because we won't allow ourselves to breathe and see and open ourselves up to the opportunity to grow, right? You know, think about a seed. When a seed is planted, it dies before it multiplies. I like to think about the story of Jesus, right? In the Bible, it says that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, right? He gave his only begotten son, his son who came into the world, descended to come into the world, and had to die in the world. And this same Jesus was transformed, and not just was he transformed, but everyone that followed him also experienced this transformation. And that includes how we see what we plant. Do we see something on the other side that's being transformed, including ourselves? See, it's not a loss when there's transformation involved. You're not losing money when you invest in your growth. See, you're releasing it into soil that can produce your future. That's right, think about that. The soil and the seed all work together. The seed is a demonstration of, it's like a tender, it's like a dollar. And what you associate value to that dollar will determine how you see what's on the other side, right? And how you see what's on the other side will determine the quality of soil. So if the soil is rich, it's because you see the investment. And typically, when we sow into something or we believe in something, we invest either sparingly if we don't believe, or we invest bountifully if we believe, right? So if you see the benefit of investing into a stock or investing into your child, investing into yourself because you see beyond the dollar, right, or the seed, then it's what you believe that actually creates the soil. And the soil is what produces what comes out, right? So most of the times that's what we're struggling with because we don't see the value in ourselves. We struggle with seeing the value in others. We fail to see the value and the vision and how it can transform people, including ourselves. So I want to give you 4 keys, right? And one of them is the seed produces after its own kind, right? That's something that you have to remember, right? I was in a course recently where they was like, if you invest into this, it's actually going to help you get what you desire. You're going to get coaching. You're going to get worked with someone who's already been down that path, right? It's going to save you time, and time usually saves you a lot of money, right? You invest a seed, you get a tree. And on that tree, you get fruit, you get opportunities, and not only just for you, but you get it for other people. So when the seed produces after its own kind, if your seed was born in fear, every harvest will carry that fear. Think about that for a second. If your seed was born in fear, every harvest will carry that fear. See, you can go and give as much as you want to, but if you give grudgingly, or with the thought of, oh my God, why do I have to do this again? Basically, you're already defeating the opportunity on the other side of the seed because of what you see. It's the belief that you have tied to that seed. If you have a $100 bill and you treat it like it's $1, then you will spend money irresponsibly. If you see that $100 bill as an opportunity to create more $100 bills, then you will invest that $100 in the right soil because you believe that it can go and develop and grow and become more. See, if it's planted in faith, every return carries that faith. Wow. Think about all the things that we invested into and we really didn't believe. We did it out of fear. We did it out of stinking thinking. We did it out of what we were told to do with money, right? Don't trust nobody. Money don't grow in trees, right? So you got to think about this. Before you invest in anything, ask yourself, what kind of seed is this? Because the harvest is only a reflection of what's in the roots. What's taking root in your soil? What is it tied to? Shame, guilt, when you spent money the last time, but you didn't really go and learn how to work with money. I remember when I made a decision to study credit. It's because I had messed it up at least 2 times. That's right. It's like, I'm tired of going to buy things, and every time I go to buy, I got to pay more money down than everybody else because my credit was bad. And credit is tied to my belief. My belief was, I pay you when I get ready to. That's how I felt when I was in college. Oh, I can't pay you because right now I'm struggling with my personal issues. No, I made a commitment, and you got to figure out a way to see a solution and not just a problem. When you focus on the problem, it limits your ability to see a potential harvest. It limits your ability to see that solution pop up when you reflect on times in the past when you did the right thing and it worked out. Why wouldn't it work out this time? See, the harvest, again, is only a reflection of the root. And that's usually the basis of your belief, what you see. Key number 2, there's a law of exchange. See, money doesn't leave your life when you spend it. It just changes form. I heard people say in the past, money is like energy, right? And we move it around. It's like energy. We pass it around. They say that in the first law of thermodynamics that energy is never created nor destroyed, right? Energy starts with your thought. And it manifests into the idea of creating a tender or a currency like a dollar, right? Or crypto now, right? And then you use that to assign it to a value. It's attached to a value, right? If you have a product or a service that you believe in, and you say, hey, listen, Daniel, this is going to cost you $5,000 to purchase this particular product or service, and you show me how it's going to benefit my life in a way that I needed to, then the $5,000 really doesn't matter. Even if I have it or I don't, I see the value, and it's up to me to figure out where I'm going to get it from. The law of exchange is really and truly just one idea that adds value to another person's need. And if you can do that, you can transfer that energy of hope to another person's need. And let me tell you something. I've been in situations when I needed to make a decision, and it was based on like a right now decision, and I didn't care about the money. I remember when one of my children was playing basketball and in a serious game got his tooth knocked out, front tooth. And this was like 10 o'clock at night on a Friday. And thankfully, one of the kids who he was playing basketball with was a dental surgeon. That night, we went to two different people, his father and his father's friend. They both were dental surgeons. Different forms. I may be saying it a little incorrectly, but they both deal with situations like this. Well, that night, it didn't matter how much it cost. All I knew is that I need to get my son's tooth fixed. I need to get his mouth repaired. He doesn't need to go to school on Monday looking like this. So at that point, my value for what they charged me, the value of what they charged me and the work that they did, which was excellent, and because of the relationship, yeah, we got the community deal, but the reality was it didn't matter. It was a need. When you find value in something, you recognize that you don't look at money the same way that you used to, because you believe in what you are purchasing. You believe that you will transfer this for that, and it's an opportunity. So every time you invest into your future, you got to think like that. I see myself somewhere because the need is greater than the dollar. My purpose is greater than the dollar. So there's an exchange. My purpose for your dollars. My dollars for your purpose. And if your purpose adds hope and opportunity to my life, then there's an exchange, right? So we have to learn how to look at money in that manner. Every time you invest in your future, you're declaring, I believe something greater can come from me. When I invest into my future as a speaker, as a coach, as a husband, as a father, as a better man, as a person who cares about my health, this is what I get. Something greater can come from me. I have more energy. I have more excitement. I have more hope. I have more vision. I have more clarity. People pay for clarity. I know people who have spent tens of thousands of dollars just to sit down and talk with someone to get clarity. See, when you have fear, you say, oh man, the money's gone. Faith says, no, my money is growing. Right? Money is growing. I remember years ago when my buddy told me, hey man, invest into this new currency called crypto. It's called Bitcoin. I didn't understand it. So even though it's over six figures now, I was able to get in pretty early, but not as early as I'd like to. And I didn't put in as much as I wish I had, but I'm glad I put in what I did, because I got in the first quarter. And in the first quarter, it looks good today. It's growing. The money wasn't gone. Even though I haven't touched it, even though I just look at it, I see it growing. It's the same thing when it comes down to investing into your future. You have to plant the seed, and you have to let the old you die so that you can be transformed into the new you. Going gravitrophically down into dark places, dealing with situations, help to strengthen you before you grow into the beautiful flower, beautiful tree that you are desiring to become. It's all about exchange. One sacrifice for one new level of opportunity. That's the law of exchange. Money becomes mentorship. Dollars become destiny. That's right. Money, think about that. Your money becomes mentorship. You ever thought about that? When you invest, your money is actually teaching you something. It's giving you something to pay attention to. That's right. Key 3, the death of the old seed. I kind of touched on it already, but see, the old version of you, you know, that one that you spent to survive, that one has to die. You spend all your time and energy trying to just stay alive. trying to hustle and bustle every single day in the grind. And you're like, man, why is my money not growing for me as I have to keep growing? Why haven't things changed? Well, you have to understand the death of the seed requires total surrender on your part. It requires total surrender in how you see your money. It's how you see your credit. It's how you see the ability to purchase your first home if you haven't done that yet. The ability to start that business. You have to have more hope. You have to have more exchange. You have to have it in your heart so that when that old stinking thinking dies, it says, okay, the opportunities begin to present themselves. See that version that hoarded blessings out of fear? You know what I mean? That side of you. New seeds demand new soil. You have to remember that. New seeds demand new soil. Once again, the new seed that's being transformed requires a new soil. And usually that soil is kind of like the default. It's what you believe, and the soil is actually rich because of your belief. Your belief is what's in your heart. And so now the soil matches what's in your heart so that when you plant the money, when you speak, when you love people, when you do something great for somebody else, you don't do it because the exchange is all about you. You do it because the richness in the soil is based on something greater than you. It's based on how it can transform not just you into a better tree, but create fruit for other people to tie into that fruit and benefit and eat as well. See, the old seed, it can't produce a new kind of life. It just won't work. It doesn't work. It's going to continue to produce after its own kind. And if you don't want to keep getting what you've been getting, then you got to die to the old way. So let the old seed die. Let your fear-based patterns end today. Say right now, I no longer hold on to those thought patterns that mama and them taught me about money, that my teachers who didn't have anything taught me about money. See, they said if you want to buy someone's opinion, just remember that you just purchased their lifestyle. So look at the lifestyle of the person that you just listened to. And if you bought it, if they persuaded you, then you need to surround yourself around people who have what you want. And people who have the heart and the character that you desire along with what you want. Because not everybody who has what you want has the right heart or the right intention. Key number 4, you got to cast a different seed. Now, we talked about casting or sowing a different seed, right? You got to be transformed, right? Cast something new. Invest differently. You have to think like that. You have to give differently, right? When you give, if you give with the intent to, oh, I only give because I want something back, that's short-term gain. If you give like, oh, I'm just going to tiptoe and just try it out, I'm not sure yet, it's okay to do that. But you know what I mean? Think about it like this. It's almost like you're not sure, so you're testing the waters. And if you do, that's fine. It's okay to test the waters, but you got to learn how to give with the intention to grow. You got to give with the thought of, even if someone says no and you lose $1, know that you invested into mentorship. You got to learn how to think differently. Thinking differently is critical because as a man thinketh, so is he. So when you learn how to think, then you actually tap into true power when it comes down to wealth, because wealth is a state of mind, right? You can't expect a faith harvest from a fear seed. It just doesn't work. They don't align, right? A fear seed is going to produce a fearful harvest. You're going to get more of what you don't want. But if you sow in faith, which is action, it's not just over spiritualizing it like, oh God, I'm just going to put this money in, hope that you turn into a genie for me today. No, it's like, hey God, I did my homework. I believe because I did the homework. I studied under people. I read the books. I did invest a little bit, and now I'm ready to go from $1 to $100 in my investment. I'm ready to go from $100 to $1,000 into my investment. I'm ready to invest into my well-being as a human being in terms of my relationships. You know, coaching is good because we can't see everything, right? Having someone, a good person in your life, great counsel is good because you can't see all the blind spots in your life while you're being focused. But the great thing about focus is it creates respect. It creates honor. And it causes a greater level of appreciation from your peers. They say, man, he's going somewhere, she's going somewhere, they're doing something, and it will create a calling from the people. It will actually pull the right people into your path to support you, to help you, to nurture what you are sowing as a seed and developing as a tree. You know, people will rally around you. I remember when I bought my first house, it was really tough because I had just moved to California, just got married. You know, we had one child, one on the way, and I was like, man, I want to buy a home. And homes in California were a lot more expensive than where I came from. But I remember the day that I made a decision, I planted the seed. I went to, I started playing this game, you know, this cash flow game that was really popular, still is today. Played that several times with my friends, and my thinking started changing, right? From how can I do it? Or that's not possible, homes are too expensive, to wait a minute, how can I do it? I started thinking differently. I went from, oh, it's too expensive to how can I do it? You know, it's possible when you see the value on the other side. And I remember one day I was riding around with a friend of ours who played professional football, and he would take me to the properties that he was buying out here in LA. And he was like, man, I'm gonna make 80,000 on this one, 100,000 on this one, 200,000 on this one. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. How do you do this? So he helped elevate my thinking because I surrounded myself around someone who's actually doing what I actually played in the game. And then one day I decided to go to the bookstore, and I sat there and I read books. And I'm reading books on real estate. I'm reading books on how to flip houses. I'm reading. And then all of a sudden my wife calls my cell phone and she's like, babe, I just found a house. And it's in my mom's neighborhood. And her neighborhood, you know, the homes in that neighborhood are pretty expensive. And I think this may be our opportunity. Guess what? I contacted my uncle who had already done deals, and I said, I need you to help me with this. Let's do some research and find out if this is a deal for us. And it was. It had been sitting there for 6 months, and because it looked a little rough, nobody really wanted it. But what people didn't realize was the market was starting to go up, like, shoo, and I didn't even realize what was going on because I'm new to this. And then I jump into this deal, and the bank's like, hey, yeah, you can take this. We don't want it. The banks don't want the houses. You can take it. All we need is $8,000. If you can put that down and in 30 days get your funding, you can have the house. I'm like, what? That easy? Yes. It was what they call an REO. It was a bank foreclosed, and now the bank owned it, and they want to get rid of it. We bought that house, and in 7 months, we turned that into a $150,000 profit. And let me tell you something. I had to go down before we went up. That down was deep. It was a struggle. We had to take all of our savings, all of our credit cards, all of what we had. And when we ran out and we didn't have any more, it seemed like the universe, as some people call it, God, responded like you gave everything that you had because of your faith. And then people started coming. My brother-in-law, he stepped in, was like, how much money do you need? He helped us out so we can finish the house because we had to get this house fixed up. And I ran out of money, right? He came, and then other people came and was like, hey, you want us to help you with the cabinets? And then another guy came and was like, yo, what can I do? He was actually working on the property that I was renting when I first moved here, and working on like the subfloor. We opened up the carpet in this house that we had bought and never had looked underneath the carpet. And when I pulled the carpet back, there was like plywood running through the center of the house because the house had been moved from Malibu to Pasadena in 2 parts. I didn't know that. So there was like all this beautiful hardwood floors on the right side of the house and the left side. And then it was about a foot, you know, of plywood running through the entire house. And the house was a little off, so we had to figure out how to fix that, and it was that guy. It was like everything was already in place. Everybody was around. All we needed to do was have faith and believe, and we did. And we closed that deal. We finished that house, and we turned it into 6 figures. What a payday. But let me tell you something. I had to go down. But while I was going down, I was getting mentored into how to deal with trials, how to deal with struggles, how to deal with difficult moments. And that wasn't the end of it. But we did make it through that. And on top of that, we took 10% of that money. And I remember we had come into some other money and we invested that money. And it seemed like every time we thought we was going to close the deal, somebody else would come and say, hey, you know, we want to buy the house too. And like, it was like deal after deal and deal, offer after offer. I kept getting more offers. And we ended up making way more money than we anticipated. And it's not even about the money. I'm sharing this because it was for my family. It was for my wife and I to get into our first home. It was for our children to learn from this experience. It was for my community, to work together as a team and help one family, which eventually helped other families. That's how we did it, right? So I love this story. If you want to grow, you got to let go. That's right. You got to release the grip, holding on, worrying about what's going wrong. And guess what? Even with that story in my life, I still today have to remind myself of that story, because the world that we see, there's so many things going on. There's so many people right now struggling, people losing their jobs. And right now is the best time in history. When you see it looks so bad, on the flip side, there's so many great opportunities. And we can't focus on all the negative things that are going on, even though we have to acknowledge them. They're real, they're happening. But we can't stay there, because there's so much more that can be produced out of this. Whenever you see something going down, there's always an upswing. So where do you see yourself? Release the guilt, release the grip, release the shame, do whatever you need to do. Let go so that you can grow. Release all the fear. The hardest part isn't letting go of your money. It's letting go of your old mindset once again. But once you do that, everything starts to change. Letting go isn't losing. Once again, it's making room for your next season. So I want to say this, my last thing: every seed has to die before it multiplies. Let the old one go and watch the new one grow. Watch the new one grow. I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm just blessed to have shared with you today. If this made sense to you, share it, because somebody needs to hear it. And I want you to know that when you let go, you definitely grow. You're definitely going to grow, and that's total release. God bless.